Yes.
I am recording now. Thank you for the reminder. Let me move to, let's see, I think this. All right. I don't even know who speaks first. Looks like Nia.
Yeah, it's me, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so hello everyone. Today's agenda, we will start off with reminders, and then we will look at the small groups, what's required of everyone for status updates, what will be happening next class, and then we will give out the attendance codes. Next slide. So at this point, you should have joined the Discord, you should have gained access to the submittee, you should have chosen a project by talking to one of the leads during project pairing. You should have joined the submittee team for your project, and if you haven't already submitted your project proposal, you should be working with your project lead and the rest of your team to get that submitted by tonight. If you need help with any of these or haven't finished any of these, message on Discord, reach out, and we'll get you figured out. Next slide. Going forward, we will have two types of meetings. We will have two sections of meetings. We'll have large groups and we'll have small groups. Large groups are held Tuesdays and Fridays. That's kind of what we're in right now. This is where we make general announcements. We will occasionally host talks about different technologies or demos, and we'll take attendance during large group. Small group meetings are when you meet with your project's team to just get work done in and, divide work and, fix bugs and everything else you would do with your project. You should decide with your group a time that works best for all of you. I know for a lot of people that's right after large group, and that's obviously completely fine. But if that doesn't work for your team, then pick a time that works for you. Mentors will periodically check in with the project leads just about attendance and other bookkeeping stuff. Next slide. Small group meetings, as I explained mostly on the last side, are just for your project team. When we were in person, small groups would be with a bunch of projects in the same room, but since we're remote at this point, it just makes more sense to do them just so you're meeting with your project and working on it with that group. So figure out a time that works for you and your team members and meet. Next slide.
Alrighty, so next we have small group assignments. So I apologize if I butcher any names. I try my best, but in small group 1, we've got Cluster Duck, IARS, Legit Info, Open Energy Dashboard, Pi Clarion, and Radical Justice Truth Loop. They will be having the mentors of Hannah and Zach. Group 2 is the S39DX, Social, and Yaks with Jacob. Group 3 is BrokerBot, Jeff Test, Institutor, On My Own Time, Quacks, Simi, and Smart Rider with Matthew and Frank.
Hunter?
Sure, what do we got?
Matthew changed his name to Matthew Smallies.
Oh, yes, that's true. There should be an S on the end of Smalley.
We're just joking.
Okay, a little bit of a free show banter. But anyway, on the next slide, we have projects that are groups 4 through 6. Group 4 is Clip, Lavender, Shell Tracker, Telescope, and Venue with Nia and Matthew. Not Matthew Smalley. Group 5 is Discord ScriptBot, Flom, Open Circuits, RAID TA, RPI Campus Map, and Serverbox with Leon and Priya. Group 6 is Adversarial Robustness Toolbox, Rensselaer e-commerce dashboard, not e-trade. RPI TV Glimpse and Temperature with Alice and Graham. And on the third slide, we have Group 7 and 8. Group 7 is Storm Design, Egeria, X-Calendar, Off Campus, and Poetti with me and Neha. And finally, Group 8 is LEI LEI or something. I apologize. AI Toolkit, Graph, Simidi, Teeter, and Tutorbase with Ansanula, hopefully. Again, I apologize. And Rory.
I think that's just Ace.
That would make more sense. That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
All right, that will be the small group assignments. Next.
And just
Oh,
to
that's
quickly hop in about small groups on Discord. So we're going to hold off. I was just typing this in the chat, so it's great. We're going to hold off on making these small group categories on the server and moving your project channels into those. That is, so if you have any issues with your small group assignment, and again, if you want to see those, these slides are posted in the slides channel. Let us know if you don't like your mentor group or you want to be in a small group, something like that. It's very, very flexible, especially since we aren't working with physical locations now. So the groupings are a little bit arbitrary. So let us know if you don't like who you've been matched with. That's the same for mentors. If you want to be moved around, I missed some people's stuff. So thank you for reaching out. So probably by the end of today or tomorrow, the Discord will then be fully set up. You'll see a category for each small group. Each small group will have a general text and voice channel. Those are private only to your small group. And you'll still have your own project channels, which are private to your project. And I believe we'll have mentors be able to see those as well. And mentors now, this is the time where they come into play. Mentors are the first line of defense, I guess. So when you have questions and you need assistance and things, go to the mentors before going to coordinators or Professor Turner or anything. Not because we don't want to deal with you, but because that's the role of mentors. There's more of them than there are of us, and they're all experienced in a lot of different things. So make sure you reach out to them. It's the first thing, and you can move on to us. Don't be afraid of reaching out to coordinators and Professor Turner, but make use of the mentors. Take advantage of them. That's all. Next slide.
All right. So I got a nice long section. It's not going to take me very long to go through it. But before I do, I just want to address a couple of things. There are maybe 7 of you out there who haven't joined a team, and there's 1 or 2 teams that haven't actually submitted a proposal. So we need to get those in as soon as possible. They are now overdue. I've actually started looking at them. Okay, so I've looked at 1 proposal so far. We will be looking at them very quickly, very soon. I need to do an attendance report by the end of this week or beginning of next week. It's part of some new initiative. And what I'm going to do, at least in RCOS, is I'm going to look at everybody who's not on a team. And that's going to be the way that I need to report things in. So if you're not on a team, please, please contact me, or please join a team or create a team. If you're on a team but you haven't submitted, please submit. If you are a mentor who isn't on a team because you are not taking it for enough credits and you want to, basically just be a mentor, let me know that so I can actually get you marked off without saying that you're not here. But that's going to be, I think, the way that we have to report attendance is anybody who's not on a team, we don't actually have you officially on the roster. So please join that. And by the way, that can all be remedied later in the year, but don't make me have to remedy it. Just please join a team or let me know that you're not going to join a team. All right, status updates. So status updates start this Friday. Most of you know what you're doing. Most of you are going to do a good job. That's the way it always is, but I do want to make sure that we go over this fairly thoroughly. I'll go over it thoroughly now. I will go over it less thoroughly probably on Friday when you actually have to submit. But what you're going to find is that there is some gradable. It's not up there yet. It'll be up there for status updates. It'll go up every Friday. It will be due before midnight the following Monday, I believe. I think that's what I've always done before. Can anybody confirm that?
That sounds right.
Sounds right. And that allows us to actually start grading it so that we can, give you feedback. It has to be an open format. I know that we say open a lot. This is primary. There's some aspects of just I like open formats, but there is also some aspects of the fact that Submittee can display text. It can display things like markdown or restructured text, even though it doesn't render them in a visually appealing style, but it does at least allow us to read them. It can display text. It can display PDFs. DocX files come up looking like gibberish. So does rich text files, rich text format. Basically, if you're submitting in something other than, essentially these four, what we see is we see a bunch of garbage, and then we have to go to extra steps to download it and find the right opener for it, which, admittedly is, for something like DocX is not hard, but it is an extra step, and it doubles or triples the amount of time it takes us to do grading. Don't double or triple our time. There's, I think right now, 41 groups defined. I think there's about 170 some students. Not all of you are taking it for credit, but enough of you are taking it for credit that becomes a fairly major, if you go from 1 hour to 3 hours, that's substantial, right? So please give us in a format that somebody can handle nicely. And then on top of that, it also fits in well with our commitment to open source and using open source whenever possible. We're not going to accept DocX, right? I think I just said that, or rich text, or all of those other formats that just aren't rendered. So please, make it easy on us. We'll make it easy on you. You can use up to 2 late days. So this is where the late days come in. I think everybody has 5 to begin with. It's not in my opinion, it's not a very onerous thing because we have 10 opportunities to submit status updates. If you count the number of weeks, there are 11 Fridays between now and the end of the semester. The last Friday, we're going to have you submit a a final report on just a listing of all your commits so that we can easily check you off, assign your open source contributions grade. So we won't require a status update that day, but we will every other Friday. You'll have an opportunity for one. That leaves 10 opportunities. We dropped 4, so that means you have to get in 6 good status updates to get full credit for the status update portion of your grade. So we make the rubric pretty simple. There's 3 possible grades. A 0 is failed to submit or did not submit anything useful. I'll show you some examples of these in just a minute. 1/2 is submitted but missed some of the items, and 1 is submitted substantially complete status update with all the stuff we want. So what is it that we actually want? Well, here's a reasonable example that I wrote, I think over the summer. So first part is your name, right? We want to know who it is. Remember that, Submittee has a really good grading interface, but it's not a perfect grading interface. We're trying to offer you feedback. Part of the reason for doing this status update is to keep you from getting stuck in the mud, mired in a swamp. So we want to be able to find out who you are, so we can correlate this. Go out and talk to your project lead and say, hey, look, they said they're having this problem. Can you offer your assistance or something like that? So we want to know your name, and we want to know the project name, right? I don't remember who's on every project. I don't even remember what all the projects are from week to week in general. First 2 blocks. Next block, it should be what you did over the past period of performance, and please give us a header, because sometimes when you look at this part and then you look at this part, if you don't have a header there, it just runs together, and I can't tell what you worked on, what you're working on, and what you're planning to work on. So please, give us a nice little header that says this week, and then what you did this week. Notice that I have this in 4 sentences. This is kind of the minimal level that we expect. More is great. Less is probably not so great. I want to know, if you want to say you investigated something, fine. What did you investigate? What did you come up with? And then give me some details about how that feeds in to what milestone you're currently trying to attack, or what part of the project that actually fits into. So this is 4 sentences, a very short paragraph. This is a minimal bounds. I'm more than happy to read bigger bounds. Please give us this and give us a heading. For the next week, again, give me some details. Next week, I plan to create some storyboards. Right? A storyboard is a physical artifact that comes out of something. So I have a concrete goal that I can actually demonstrate and show and begin to create the UI design. Okay, so I'm not saying that I'm going to finish, but I'm going to begin to create it. And then I'm going to begin surveying my community to put together a potential advisory list. So if I'm going out there and I'm trying to build up a community, or I'm trying to build a project and I'm looking for users, this is a reasonable thing to do, right? Survey the community. Give me some details. Like I said, this is a fairly minimal, this is what you consider a reasonable lower bound for full credit. Don't go below this. Go above it. That's wonderful. We really love to see more. We love to see, some nice concrete actions and plans. Blockers. I need a blockers section with a heading so I can tell that there are blockers. These should be technical blockers. What we're mostly interested in is, where are you stuck in a place that we can help, right? So technical blockers could be, I have to interface with the Office of Disability Services or something. That's, both a community blocker, but it's part of forming the community or part of formulating your project. That's perfectly fine. I had a test in Calc 3, so I didn't have a chance to work on my RCOS project. Is not really a technical blocker, because I can't do anything about your Calc 3 class, right? I can't go to the professor and say, you're kind of blocking the student from getting work done, so I'm gonna, ask that you don't give any Calc 3 homework. I guess I could do that, but I would expect to be met with a firm no on that. We want you working on RCOS. We want you working on RCOS consistently. We understand that there's some weeks where that can't happen. But if you work, every week a little bit, you'll make good progress, and you won't have to put down the blocker that your Algebra 3 or your Calculus 3 got in your way. So, make these technical, make these things where we can help out. And as you go along, if the blocker is resolved, please let us know, because sometimes we're looking through and we say, okay, this person has had a blocker 1 week. It looks like they have a plan for getting around it, so we're not going to intervene. We don't think there's any issues. But if it goes on for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then we'll definitely kind of jump in if we notice and try to provide you with some help. The other thing to do is, if you have a technical blocker, if something's actually in your way, stopping you from making progress, use the help channel. Right? Don't just sit there being blocked for more than one status update. Reach out to us, and make sure that this is something that's actionable, where we can provide some guidance, and then we will try to get in and help as well. Finally, the links section. We need links, again, with a contribution heading, and notice that these links go directly to things, right? So that first link takes me to a commit in the unknown project, right? And the second link takes me directly to an issue in the unknown project. Issues and commits are both artifacts of an open source contribution. They're both things we create as part of contributing to open source. So when we look at what you've done, what you've accomplished in a semester, these are the things that we want to see to give you a good grade, right? So I don't want this going off to somebody else's, somebody else's webpage and your this week summary saying I read this person's webpage. Doing research is fine, but what you need to do then is you need to contribute something to your open source repository or to your fork of the open source repository that lays out what you did, and that should have the link to the other person's page, right? So I don't want just a series of other people's work in this link section. I want it to be your work. Your work can reference other people's work and put it in context of the research and the learning activities that you're actually doing. Okay, I'll talk about that a little bit more probably next week. What makes a good commit and what can you do when you're in a learning phase. But the key here is in this document, you should have your links. These links are mainly for you because twice during the semester, we're going to ask you to go through and give us a summary of your contributions to date. And if you keep a running total of all these things, then you can just go in and you can satisfy that request in 2 minutes without having to do any research at all into what you actually accomplished. So please, keep this in mind, and please take advantage of that. The links in the blockers section are both required. Okay, so that was a reasonable one. I would probably give a grudging full point for this. Here's a partial credit one, right? Well, everything here is the same, except we forgot the sections for blockers and we forgot the sections for unknowns. And notice that in mine, there are currently no technical blockers, right? I didn't have any blockers, so I put this in there, but I did put it in here. This doesn't have that section. We need that, and we need a links section, even if they're empty. If you can put in, I don't have any current links, or I don't currently have any links for this reporting period. You can put in, I have no blockers. You need the sections. And the reason you need the sections is those areas are things that I want to know that you've thought about during the week, right? I don't want you just skipping over those because that's how you communicate where there are issues to us. I want to know you've thought about it, and it's where you can communicate. And I want you thinking. I don't want you going 3 weeks without any links and not thinking anything of it. I want you to at least have to think about the fact that time is passing. We only have 11 more weeks in the semester. Time is passing. You need to get, you need to get some commits in there. So don't leave those sections. Don't leave out these sections. I need to know what you were doing this week, even if it was minimal, right? Again, just because I want you thinking about it, I want to have some insight into where you are. I want to know when I have to step in and kind of help things out, and I want to know where I can contribute. Sometimes you guys get into things, and they're actually in areas that I'm pretty familiar with, and I can jump in and kind of help out. So please do that. Next week, you need that section because that tells you, if you don't have a concrete plan for a week, chances are you're not going to get as much accomplished during that week as you could. All right. Partial credit example. It's missing 2 sections. We have no headings for the blockers and contributions, no areas. Here's an example for no credit. I don't have anything to report. If you're gonna put that in, then it doesn't really, we do drop 4. Just don't bother to submit something rather than submit something that says I don't have anything to submit. All right. I think that is all I have on that. Oh, thank you. I was going to go to that. We do have, Frank and Nia and Stephen and Hunter and Olivia have all been working very hard on transporting or re-hosting the handbook in a wiki form, and they've, like I said, they've been making major updates and everything. The status updates are all here. This is exactly the stuff that I talked about before. By the way, Frank, I already had that bookmarked as a tab. But it was good that it was there, so it reminded me to go into it. All the clips we have here are listed. I pulled this directly out of the example status update in the file. So, everything's there. If you want to know what the grading rubric is for the course and where status updates fall, well, status updates count about 25% of your semester grade. All right. Any questions? My chat room is hidden. There we go. Thank you, Frank. That's a really good one. So if your project lead is having you take a course, that's part of what you've done, right? Definitely report that as your part of what you did, right? That's actually a good thing on pretty much every context. And viewing a docx as a text file is like looking into the abyss. Yes. One thing you might be interested in is just count how many. For a very simple, do your status update in docx and then open it in a text editor like VI and count how little information that you put in there is actually in the document compared to all the other stuff, all the format stuff. I'm not seeing any other. Frank has another great comment. It's pretty hard when we're remote to proactively see who is stuck and needs help. Please put effort into your blockers section. I'm going to second that. I miss being able to walk around and talk to all you guys because that's how I found out where there were blockers and how I figured out who I was going to send over to help out when I did. So, please make extensive use of that. A week is a nominal time frame. A week is anything you've done since the last time you've reported. Generally, that's the 7 days prior to the Friday, but this is our first one and we're in week 4, so go wild. And always give context. My guys need to look into the source code that we're contributing to before they can start. Excellent. That is a really good point. So hopefully there's documentation that goes along with it. But if there isn't, as you start looking at things, if you generate stuff like a map of where the software is, or what each section of the software does, or what each directory of source files is for, that actually makes a good early semester contribution, right? So create a document that tells you what this code does. If we own the repository, as in if it's an RCOS person, you can probably coerce them into putting a documentation directory there and then link this map right to the README. And if you run experiments, if you do things like run the testing suite, if you have to install software, if you have to install software and there's no installation guide, write it. If you have to install software and there is an installation guide and the installation guide is more than a year old, you will not be able to install completely successfully. You'll have to most likely make changes to it. Make those changes. Those are also good contributions. So, please use that. Do the things that make sense, but don't think that I can't do anything at this point in time because I have to take a class or I need to I need to read and learn the software. There's all sorts of things. If you're learning software, you are generating artifacts for you to understand the software. Put those someplace public with appropriate licensing, hopefully in the same repository, but if not, in your own fork of it, and that becomes an excellent contribution. If you are not registered for the RCOS class, in other words, you're taking it for 0 credit, no, you won't. Well, if you submit it, we will look at it, we will give you a grade. I can't give you a grade if you're not taking it for credit. I can't give you a final grade, but we'll look at everything that gets submitted. So if you want feedback, if you're generating stuff, do it. We'll particularly if you're trying to overcome blockers, submit your status updates, and we will try to take advantage of it. It won't affect your grade because you're not getting one, right? It's, the grade is the number of credits times the grade, and 0 credits times anything is 0. Project lead only has to submit the proposal. No one else has to. That's fine. And anything else? So the question is about grading people differently if they're taking it for different numbers of credits. What we do is we take care of that at the macro level. So the cutoffs and the amount of missed classes and everything are adjusted for people that are taking it for fewer credits. We still want them to be graded, right? There's nothing in the status update that's specific to a certain number of credits. We don't even grade on the number of links. We just want there to be a links section. So there shouldn't be any differential grading based on number of credits. We'll take care of that at the meta phase, I guess, not macro, meta phase. See, that's both a very scary something about engineers saying they don't have any documentation. That is both very scary and an excellent opportunity. If there is no documentation, and they're willing to accept it in particular, you probably can make a lot of contributions very early on, and later generations will bow down to you as heroes and saviors of the universe. All right, I think we're good. With that in mind, I think that's all I had for today. So let's see what somebody else had. I think we're back to Hunter.
Indeed. So what's happening in this class? So mentors, we've been reviewing the times for the mentor meetings. We will get back to you on that pretty soon, ideally before next meeting. Also for mentors, definitely start thinking about what kind of workshops you want to give. So every mentor has to give a workshop over the course of the semester. It can be on pretty much whatever you want. I usually do a Docker one every semester, and that usually goes pretty well. But you can pick whatever topic that interests you. You just give, say, half hour to an hour topic, usually on like a WebEx or in a Discord channel if you want, and just kind of talk about that. And then everyone in this class also who's taking the class for credit also has to go to one of those workshops. So definitely try to make it an interesting topic so everyone can be entertained and happy and enjoy it. And hopefully learn something. And finally, for projects. Definitely, if you're in a project, which you probably all should be by now, otherwise you're in trouble, and that's going to be bad. But basically, all projects should now start meeting weekly at whatever time works well for you. This could be whenever you want. As like Nia said before, most people just do it right after class. It tends to be easiest, but anytime works as long as you're meeting. And then you can get down to work. Next slide.
Frank typed into chat. Non-mentors are also we're interested in having non-mentors give deep dives into their projects or other types of workshops. It's just not required, but we always love it.
More the merrier.
Yep. Okay. So, submitting attendance. Let's see. Do I have to go over this again? You can do it on Venue by scanning the QR code I'm about to present, or after I upload the recording later on tonight, you can view it on Venue before midnight, and that should say midnight Tuesday, because we are Wednesday. Sorry, because we are on Tuesday. Right, and I'm also going to put this up on YouTube, and you can either, and if you submit to the magic phrase of the day to Submitty, you can get credit that way as well. So, oops, those are our projects. So if we go to our attendance for today, I will admit that it took me 2 tries to get this right, mainly because I uploaded the wrong configuration file. But the password is NormalTime with a frowny face, just because I couldn't figure out how to put a yawn. I wasn't sure whether an O would look like a 0 or a big O, and whether that was screaming or yawning. So we'll just do a frowny face to indicate tiredness. Normal time, frowny face. Attendance on submittee. Venue. $216. There is the magic form. And there is the submittee form. So there you go. 2 ways to get attendance right now, and I'll post these up as soon as we can. You guys have quite a bit of time left. I know we took a little longer today because there's always some confusion. Status updates don't seem that complicated to me, but there's always some confusion about them, and I wanted to make sure that you guys had all the information you needed. So I apologize for being long-winded. I'm going to stick around till at least 6. If you have any questions, otherwise we will see you on Friday. That's it, right, guys?
That's all.
Awesome.
Have a happy Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras. Man, I wish I would have remembered. I was a week off. How was I a week off? Well, because it's early. I was going to do the whole float thing from...
Easter is early this year, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like April 12th or something.
Wow. Wow. Well...
Yeah, it's very early.
So we have a... So one, I like the whole fish on Fridays thing. I force my family not to eat meat on... I can't force them to eat fish. I've failed. I feel like I've let my entire culture down. But at least I get to eat fish on many Fridays. But the other thing is, when it gets down to Easter time, my dad's family used to make pickled eggs for Easter, but they used to make it with beet juice. So that the eggs turn purple. They look like colored eggs. So I've got to get that going too. No one will eat those with me either. In fact, the litany of things my family won't eat is larger than I'd like.
Hey, I had a question.
Sure.
It's like a hammer.